Next question. How to deal with people who use military vet status to excuse bad behavior in the civilian world?
Yeah. This is an unfortunate one to have to answer. And unfortunately, I have to start it off with the same way I made this point about jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu practitioners not necessarily being good people.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's the same thing with veterans, just like it's the same thing in every aspect of life. Mm-hmm. Just because someone is a veteran does not mean that they are a good person. And being at war is certainly not an excuse for bad behavior. And a couple examples just to think about. Major Kurt Chu-Een Lee. Mm-hmm. You remember this guy? Navy Cross. This is the guy that wore the pink vest at Incheon so his men could identify him. The enemy could identify him clearly too, but he was the leader. He saw hell, right? Wounded. Men died. 27 of his men made it. I mean, just ridiculous. Guess what he did when he got out of the Marine Corps? Oh, went to work for an insurance company for 20 years. Right? So Joe Owen, who, same chosen reservoir battle, never regained the use of his arm that was wounded, was medically retired from the Marine Corps. Guess what he did with all that angst and horror? Guess what he did? Yeah, he created and ran his own marketing business until he retired. Now, you remember John Chafee from that book, The Coldest War? He was the captain that I kind of wanted. The reason I did that book was because he was profiled in there and he just was a great leader. Well, I don't even know if I don't remember if I talked about this, but he turned 20 years old at the Battle of Guadalcanal, right? World War II. He fought at Okinawa, World War II. Then he went to school. He went to either Yale or Harvard or both, but then Korea kicked off. So then he went to Korea and got after it more. So all this war, what did he do with all that? He came home, became the mayor of Providence there in Rhode Island, became the governor of Rhode Island, and then he became Secretary of the Navy. But so my point in saying these things is veterans are not broken humans. They're not deranged people. They're just people. And they've seen some stuff. And most of them are carry on and do awesome. The greatest generation. Think of the greatest generation. All those World War II vets. They saw horrors of war. Guess what they did? Came home and dominated. That's what they did. So men and women can overcome the impact of war, or at least they can learn to work with it. Because even if even if you have those things that stress you out, okay, but guys learn how to deal with it. Of course, that being said, war, it does leave a mark, and obviously sometimes it can have a extremely negative effect. So if you know someone like that, well, let's get those veterans some help if they need it, and get them some support. Also, make sure you're not enabling this bad behavior. This is what you don't want to do. You don't want to enable this bad behavior. The vets that I meet, they're fired up. They're not complaining about anything. They're getting after it. Don't enable the bad behavior. It doesn't help anyone, and it's one of those things that it might make you feel better. It might make me feel better to help someone out and say, hey, I understand. Let me enable your behavior some more. And it might make me feel better because I feel like I've done a good deed, but you haven't done a good deed. Yeah. You've actually not helped them at all. That's one thing I think that's good if you find other vets for them to talk to, because other vets will say, man, I understand, bro. It's okay. But let's not dwell on that past stuff. Let's move forward. This guy's offering you a job, or this guy has a job for you to do, or this guy has a position you can fill. Do that. Do that. Don't dwell in the past. The past is gone. War's hell. I know. Now let's live in the heaven we got here in the United States of America. Let's take advantage of that and not dwell in the past. And this is another small thing, but I just hear so much about it from people. If you got somebody, Have them listen to the podcast, to this podcast. I hear from a vet every single day. I hear from vets around America that are like, hey man, thanks. Thanks for having the podcast. Thanks for what you talk about. I get it. Appreciate it. A guy just, you know, sent me a message today. He's like, look, man, I didn't have a gun in my mouth. But he goes, I wasn't doing good. I'm on track. I'm training jiu-jitsu. Literally, I'm training jiu-jitsu. I'm in the gym. I'm busting my ass at my job. Appreciate it. That's all it is. That's all it is. Because I think when vets listen to the podcast, they go, okay, cool. There's other people. They know we're in the game together.
Yeah.
They feel that connection, and they know that they're not alone. Because that's the thing that's jacked up, man. Veterans they go to war and they come back and they go somewhere where there's no one there.
Yeah.
And all this is a big bullshit session. You know what I mean? Between, you know, a veteran that's in a book and I'm having a bullshit session with Joe Owen. You know, that's what it is. And so I think veterans, they hear that and they go, yeah, man, I appreciate it. Yeah. So have them listen to the podcast and that might be helpful to get them feeling like they're not alone out there.
Yeah. I would think that that's the main thing. Like, people don't, like, you don't understand me. You know, you don't understand, like, well, I mean, not to sound too soft, but, like, you don't understand how I feel about, like, this, even day-to-day stuff. Like, the way I'm seeing this right now, you don't understand.
Yeah.
So you end up feeling, I'm assuming, that's what it seems like.
Guys end up feeling alone, and they're out there, and they're like, and the other thing is they feel like people don't understand me.
Yeah.
And like, I'm here saying, you're right, they don't.
Yeah.
They haven't been to war. And the experience of war is all over the place. I mean, I would shine, you know, Major Kurt Chu Een Lee's boots every day for the rest of my life if I had the opportunity to. Like, that guy's experience. I mean, I'm not even the same ballpark. You know what I mean? Not even the same not close for what those guys went through at the Cho's Reservoir. And it goes all the way down to some guy that, you know, was overseas, that was in the military, didn't even deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan. Not their fault. They might have wanted to, but sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So the military experience is all those things. Yeah. And you don't know what you're dealing with. But one thing we do know is that it is a common experience. You know, going to war, it does have some common threads to it. And I think that it is hard for people that haven't experienced it to understand. Yeah. And it makes people feel a little bit like alone out there. So when they hear other vets talking about what goes on, they go, yeah, man, all right, cool. These are not abnormal feelings that I'm having.
Right.
And they can move on. And I don't know if I've really answered the question of how to deal with people who use their status as an excuse to bad behavior. I think just like anyone else, man, you gotta do your best to put them in their place. And I think what makes non-veterans feel intimidated, man, when I was a kid, I looked up to all the Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
And I just thought, these guys, whatever they could do no wrong in my eyes. You know, when I was a kid, I was like, no, that guy's awesome. That guy was a nom, you know? Yeah. That guy could do no wrong. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of civilians have. Like, they don't want to approach the subject.
Right.
And if you feel that way, it's understandable. It's hard. But find some vets around that can help you, that can help that person, that can talk to them about what they're doing. I mean, you know, every company that I work with, there's veterans at every company I work with. Usually have multiple veterans. So find some other veterans. The one thing that's another cool thing that companies do is within their company, they'll have like a veteran program or a veteran club basically inside their company. That's another cool thing. Do that. Get that thing started. You know, even if you're not a vet, find the senior vet or the vet that's fired up to do it. Bring him in, and then those guys can get together, talk about doing better, and talk about bringing some of their military experience to bear in the company, and it just will turn out good. So those little veterans organizations, that's what they call them, veterans organizations inside of companies, are pretty cool. I've spoken to a few of them. It's a pretty cool deal.
Nice.